Right, we are going.
Yeah, okay, good.
All right, we're on. You're on.
All right, let's do like in lecture. We're going bottom up. So spinal cord's coming up. First bump, medulla oblongata, which is the E. Second bump, pons, big bump, D. Then as we come up, this C area is the mesencephalon, midbrain, kind of nebulous land. So right here are the peduncles. That's the big wiring that comes up. Then you have the cerebral aqueduct behind that. And the corpora quadrigemina posterior to that. So they're from this three. Once we come up, then we're in the diencephalon, which is the whole center. The center, that is the intermediate mass of the thalamus, because the thalamus is the whole kind of mounded hill you see there. If I go above that, this pink and red and blue, that's the epithalamus area, with the fornix being the white roof over that. If I go down from that and forward, this is the hypothalamus, number 18. Below that's the infundibulum with the pituitary below that. If I go from my thalamus and go backwards, this is the pineal body or pineal gland, that pink number 10. And then if I go up again for my fornix, I have my corpus callosum, which is the white band. And this one shows the septum pellucidum, because I can't see the ventricle, which would be behind that, the lateral ventricle. Then we have my cerebrum here. If I go back down, I have my cerebellum here, with the arbor vitae, which is the white, the folia, which are the leaves, quote, quote. And then I'm going to look at some of my spaces. So I have a space in here. That's the third ventricle that drains down the cerebral aqueduct to the fourth ventricle, which is this triangle, which would then go down or out of its apertures. The only thing that I notice is number 12, which is the mammillary bodies. There should be two right behind the pituitary.
What's number 17?
Where is 17? That's the optic chiasma. That's showing the eye cross cut in
And
the center.
4?
4 is
Is that the...
a word I don't remember. What is
Anterior
that?
commissure? Is that...
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Anterior commissure. Thank you. Hey, good. What else is on here? Oh, while we're doing this, let's do some spaces. We see a space above the brain, below the skull. That runs kind of this way, which should be sagittally, so that would be the superior sagittal sinus.
The purple?
The purple, because these are my venous or arachnoid villi, where I'm draining the fluid out at the pathway.
So you're draining it in which direction?
Well, it's draining actually from behind the holes out to you,
Okay.
because this is actually the
So
sinus
it's
when
draining
I cut
from
it.
the subarachnoid into
Yes.
the sinus.
And the sinus is where you've cut, so you're looking at the drains leaking towards you, because another set going this way.
Oh,
It's
okay.
kind of
So it's
three-dimensional.
like a sprinkler system.
Yes. Right? Exactly.
Good.
And then this would be
My term.
the transverse sinus, which is between the cerebrum and the cerebellum, where the transverse cerebral fissure would be. And then if we do a little more with the white, this is the dura mater is the white, and there's two layers. There's one on the bone, which is the periosteal layer of the dura mater. There's one on the brain, which is the meningeal layer of the dura mater. Because they meet, if you follow, they're all one thing. They meet here. So you have half the dura touches the bone, half the dura touches the meninges, and so they form two layers of the same thing, the sinuses. So then if we take this and go to this, we'll do the same thing. So here I have my longitudinal fissure. That means this is my frontal lobe. My central sulcus is where? About here. This means my parietal lobe's here, occipital lobe's here, temporal lobe's there, lateral sulcus on the side, or lateral fissure, longitudinal fissure in the center. The central sulcus is the one that goes here. So if I have a bump here, which is just in front of the central sulcus, that bump would be the
Precentral
precentral
gyrus.
gyrus, and the one behind it would be the postcentral gyrus. So motor here, feeling there, vision, hearing, like that. So then, if I throw on my cerebellum, like this, my cerebellum, I have the same relationship, but I have a vermis, which is the worm-like thing between the two hemispheres. I have folia, which are the leaves that you see on the cerebellum, which is upside down.
So the folia is the brown.
Is the brown. And then the arbor vitae is the white. So the tree is the white, but the leaves are the brown.
Okay.
Basically is how they named it. And And then that leaves a space. So the space here between the cerebrum and cerebellum, that's the transverse cerebral fissure, right, which is between those two. And then if we add our information, that'd be the tentorium cerebelli, which is the white there, would be covering these two layers here, forming the tentorium cerebelli, inside of which would be the transverse sinus in blue there. Then I'd have my falx cerebri, which would be, that hurt. I'm just getting a lobotomy here. Right. If I put dura mater down the longitudinal fissure, that'd be my falx cerebri. So it comes down that you have. If I do the same thing to my cerebellum, which I can't do with my hand for beans, that would be my falx cerebelli. That'd be following the grooves.
How are you going to test us for the folk stuff?
Glad you asked, because I have this model here. So this model shows not so much the falxes, but some of them. So this big sheet here of white, if you remember your skull, there was no such thing like that. That's showing the falx. So it's going to go from here and all the way down to here. So that'd be a sheet of dura mater like this. That'd be the falx cerebri. And you see the purple in the center. That represents this superior sagittal sinus, where that V forms. This white here represents between the cerebellar hemispheres. That would be the falx cerebelli. And the one that goes this way represents this tentorium, because it's horizontal. That would be the transverse sinus and the tentorium cerebelli. Make sense? So that's how I could do the falxes kind of somewhat. Then we're going to go back to this model. And we're going to figure out what this is. So these are the ventricles, the spaces. So these would sit like, basically like that. So these two on the sides would be the laterals, 1 and 2 formally. Then there's a interventricular foramen, which are the two holes that drain in about here into this one, which is the third. That circle there is that circle there, intermediate mass. So that represents right there. So the third ventricle is around the thalamus, drains down the cerebral aqueduct to the fourth ventricle, which is here. And the red represents the choroid plexi of each ventricle. Make sense? Okay. And that brings us to the middle area of the diencephalon. So this seahorse is just that middle part. It's your diencephalon. So these are the thalamus. This is the little kind of dumbbell shape it has. Pons and medulla. So this is front, this is back. So I open it up like that. And we have the same exact relationship. So this is the intermediate mass of the thalamus, hypothalamus at the mouth of the seahorse, epithalamus above it, the fornix, pituitary would hang down, mammillary body below it, cerebral aqueduct kind of below it. But then I have these funny bumps in the back. I turn them this way and look, I see 4 bumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, what's that? Quadrigemina, body of the 4 twins. So then I'm supposed to know the 2 top ones are the superior colliculus or colliculi, the bottom are the inferior colliculi, so eyes and ear reflexes. Then if I turn this around to the front and tip it, I'll start noticing the cranial nerves coming off. So 1 would go to my nose, but it's way up here, cut off. So I'm going to start here. The X is number 2. Then I'm going to go past the mammillary bodies and go to number 3, which is right in there. 4 is on the side. 5 is the big one on the pons. That's trigeminal. You start over again. 6, 7, 8 is usually double. 9, 10, 11 goes down the spinal cord. And 12 is back in the center. So that's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So just 4 wrap around the whole,
Well, yeah, it comes from behind and kind of loops back to the front because it's going to your
so
eyes.
it just kind of goes,
But on some of the models, they'll have it here, and some like this one, they'll have it in the back where you can't really see it from the front. But you know it's there because number 5 should always be this one, so you'll be like 1 short. Well, it's off the side. So if we do the same thing on this model, same thing. Here's my thalamus, right? Here are my peduncles from the front, the big mushroom-looking wires that come up. So those would be right here from the side.
Those are the peduncles.
Those are the peduncles. They look like a big mushroom come up. On this model, they're smaller, but they're right there. Those are the peduncles. They look like a
Look like the
mushroom.
bottom of a mushroom.
They look like the bottom of a mushroom. Pons medulla. So we're going to do the same thing. 1's gone. 2, pituitary will be there. Mammillary are there. 3 in orange. 4 in orange. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
And what's all this stuff down here? Nothing or?
Those are other neurons, but not the cranial nerves.
Okay.
Where was the pituitary again?
It should be hanging off of this stalk, but it's
And,
not.
and what's that little thing under it?
Infundibulum
Okay.
or mammillary bodies. Mammillary bodies are on the brain below
Mammillary
it.
bodies.
And the infundibulum's the.
So
So
Mammal-
pituitary is 11, mammillary bodies are 12.
12. Okay.
And from the back, pineal is here, which is the pink dot on here. And here's my superior and inferior colliculus of the corpora quadrigemina. And this represents the pyramid. That vague look, and there's the crossing over of the pyramid is what they're trying to show there, the decussation in my medulla oblongata.
Where it crosses over.
Where it crosses,
And where's this part here? Is that shown?
that's right, 13. That's the corpora quadrigemina. On this model, it looks like this. So
That's the better model.
pink, pineal, 4 bumps, and the pyramids look like these are pyramids to somebody. Make sense? I think that's everything,
Okay.
more or less.